What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Flight Path. We are so excited that you are tuning in. As always, this is the weekly recap of everything that happened at Tern from an R&D perspective. I am one of your three hosts, David, CEO and co-founder of Tern, joined by Brad, our head of design, Molly, our head of product. And every week we talk about the things that we ship, what's coming up, giving you inside look into what it's like building Tern, how we approach it, and the things that are on our radar. So we've got another great episode for you. It's nice to be here, not almost live streaming, but how are we this week? Molly, how are you doing?
David, you have to come clean. This is take two. We almost made a terrible mistake. Like, talk to us.
We use this tool, and like I'm gonna get so much flack for this live stream thing because I just feel like it's been like issue after issue with these live stream things. But our podcast platform was still set up to live stream for the big announcement, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so I click the thing, it counts down, and literally as soon as it starts, I'm like, bail out of this, stop. And then we had to, this is a take two. But you know what? I feel better about this intro in that we actually got to it. So I think it's a good omen for the rest of this being
Oman.
Good. Dang it.
Thanks, David.
Let's move on, Molly. How was your week?
Well, you know what? It's actually, so outside of work, my 5-month-old basically has not slept a single night. So I have a better excuse to be kind of like a walking zombie than you do, David. But the good news, the celebration is that my mom got a last minute plane ticket to fly in and save me and my husband for a week and sleep next to him. So she is an angel on earth. She actually watches the podcast. So thank you, Mom. So we love you, Faith. And otherwise, it's been a busy week as always. So many exciting things to talk about. We've got some fun folder updates. We had a ridiculously fun announcement midweek that we're going to go into. So it's been a really good week.
So cool. And glad that there's a brief respite of sleep on the horizon. So yes, thank you, Faith, from everybody on the Tern team. That is a godsend for all of us. Brad, how was your week?
And I'm also not sleeping very well, if that's the core topic we're going on here. No, it's actually I'm just excited about a lot of things work-wise, and I'll wake up at 5 a.m., start thinking about it. It's guess that's just, I'm awake now. And thinking about, Tern tools seems like a great way to start your morning. And it actually is. But yeah, this week has been pretty wild. We just have a lot going on, and there's we have both a lot of projects coming up, but also a lot of things we're reacting to just as we continue to grow. We're bringing new people on board, training them. There's just as we bring more and more users on, we're going to talk about later some performance things that are coming up. So kind of a hectic week, but also just always so grateful to see the amount of progress we can make, even when there's a bajillion things on our mind. For
oh my gosh, we forgot to mention the highlight of the week, which we got the privilege of kind of seeing a snippet of a reaction to one of our new features, and it of just a person that was getting a demo, talking about how it changed her life, just watching it, and it was it literally made me cry. It was that was the highlight of my week. I knew there was something we were missing.
And the feature, it was we talked about this last week, right? It was occupancy rates, I think, right? That's so cool. Even the stills from that were chills, right? I mean, it's just you want to talk about why we do what we do in a single image, there it is, right? I mean, that's really special. Yes, it has been a crazy whirlwind, amazing week, right? Put all the adjectives in here. It has been really, really cool. The big news, we to Brad's point, we did a lot this week, kicked off our planning for Q3, which I'm really excited about. But the big thing that we finally got to share with the world, and I sort of teased this a little bit, you're working on some big things that we can't talk about. And it's taking up a lot of my time on previous podcasts. Well, spoiler alert, that was the fact that we were working on an acquisition of Lucia. And that has been so cool to be able to finally tell that story. And I am absolutely thrilled to welcome a special guest here to the Flight Path podcast, which is Lucia's co-founder, Grace. Grace, welcome to Flight Path.
Thank you, and I'm very impressed by how quickly you were able to switch me back on camera and have my audio on. That was great. So you redeemed yourself with the whole live stream thing.
As long as it's not live streaming, we're good. I mean,
Right.
we record this in one take every time, and it's no problem. But God forbid the live stream button is turned on, everything falls apart, right? It's just I don't know what it is, but it's destiny. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about this incredible partnership, which is Lucia coming under the Tern umbrella. And this is something I've been just so excited about from, you know, really the first time we met. I mean, and over the past couple months, as we started to get, kind of clarity that there's an actual option here, and kind of there's some just incredible synergies, to use that fancy business term, right, in terms of like what we can actually do together. But for people who maybe don't know, tell us the story of Lucia. Tell us the story of you, and then we'll kind of hand it over to Molly and Brad to share how they're thinking about it from a kind of R&D perspective.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cheesy story, a little bit, but I'll do my best. But kind of the brief overview story is that I actually was a travel advisor in a past life. I was working within an agency. I absolutely loved the industry, and I just completely fell in love with travel. You know how it all goes. But one of the things that was so exciting for me when I was actually in college doing a college class where I had to come up with a business idea, and I was like, okay, I'll just, whatever, this class project. Ended up taking it a little bit too seriously, and through like a bunch of customer discovery, found that a lot of advisors just need a ton of great support, and that most advisors need, whether it's a virtual assistant, someone to help with their marketing, someone to help with their, day-to-day concierge needs, covering them while they're out of office. It was just like a constant thing that was being brought up when I was doing interviews. And so lo and behold, ended up coming up with the company that's now Lucia. And I typically get asked why the name Lucia. And if you stalk me on Facebook or LinkedIn, you'll see it's my middle name, but it's also named after my great grandmother, who just had like a really great life story. And that's a story for another day. But it's been just really exciting. So if you're an advisor, obviously, interested in learning more, it's where you can find freelancers to help you support the back end of your business, whether you need assistant help, admin help, marketing, operations, you name it. We have vetted freelance talent from people that actually have experience in the industry. And we have a couple hundred amazing freelancers that we call co-pilots.
So cool. Molly, I'm going to hand it right over to you, because I could keep talking about this because I'm so excited. But people have maybe heard my take before. Like, how are you thinking about this?
Well, first I'll say, when I first talked to Grace about coming on as our head of marketing, I was like, anything we can do to even just get Grace on our team. So like, let's put that aside, because she's just so fantastic in so many different ways. And like, I mean, even just like the stories of like you getting into conferences and getting speaking slots, like scrappiest, we're so excited to have Grace a part of Tern in general. But I think we've talked a lot on this podcast and in our webinars about how much we believe in using technology to offset all of the busy work and manual data entry and the things that take away from selling travel and from building those relationships and going on trips and finding hidden gems that are perfect for your clients and all the things that truly matter and why you get into this business in the first place. And I'll be the first one to tell you, like, as our head of product here, technology can only go so far to do that. There's often these other things that you really need help with. You need a human involved. And it's hard to find, like, who can I trust? Who actually knows the technology that I'm using? Who can I actually like spin up really quickly instead of having to do a months-long search and train them? And so when we first started talking about this, it was just kind of wild how much the stars aligned between our vision of ending invisible work and exactly what Grace has built. So we were just like, we couldn't be more excited. We have so many like fun plans for how this can be used in the future. I think Brad's the best person to talk about that. I love hearing him talk about our product and design philosophy. So maybe you can share a little more there.
Yeah. So the way I just like started to think about like when you bring two platforms together, like Tern and Lucia, like how do you do that in a way that like feels most natural for customers, and not in a way where you're like, we acquired Lucia, sign up for co-pilots, and like things all over, kind of like ads in your face. You're like, wait, I don't need a co-pilot right now. I just need to like get this thing done. And so I think the way we'll start to think about this over time is more like recognizing in the product where you might be in a place where you're like, actually, I need help. I could really use that expertise right now based on what I'm doing, and start to make sure it feels like natural for you. And it's just one click away for you to go out and say, oh yeah, here's what I'm trying to accomplish, and easily find your set of people who could help you from the Lucia network, if you will. And maybe just as a few examples, that could be like when you're working on a really complex FIT and you just want like another set of eyes on it, you could have a way to reach out to a Lucia co-pilot to review your itinerary for you, or like if you're setting up your first group trip in Tern, you're like, I just really want someone to hold my hand and like make sure I'm doing it all right. You could find a great partner with somebody at Lucia who has done it hundreds of times and can come through and help you, figure it out and make sure that you have things exactly the way that's going to work best for you and your business. So there's stuff like that we're really looking forward to. No immediate, like, you're not going to see it popping up today. For now, you can still go to the Lucia platform and find co-pilots on your own. But like over time, you'll start to see a kind of more prominent touch points in the product, I'd say.
And it's so cool too, because like it's this unique opportunity. Like, Tern sees things a little bit differently than other platforms out there. So it's this really unique opportunity to like give expertise to these folks who have unique expertise in their specific area, like joining their unique expertise of like marketing with how things work on Tern. It's just like such a cool opportunity. I couldn't be more excited. I'll stop too, David. I have the same.
I know it's hard. And we're going to turn it back over here to Grace in a second to kind of just talk about like, the new role, what she's excited about here at Tern. But it kind of in the spirit of sort of the behind the scenes look, right, that we want this podcast to be out. I'm going to, again, go totally off script here and actually share my screen just to kind of show some of you may have actually answered this kind of survey. You just never know what we're up to at Tern. Like, randomly you'll log into Tern and there's a survey about services and you're like, why are they asking these questions? And it was like, we were trying to really understand almost 2.5, 3 months ago, like what are services? How do people think about this? And so I'm not going to talk through all these questions, but I thought it'd be interesting just for folks to see some of this. Okay, I can't make it bigger, but if you look at like what is currently limiting people's business, of the over 300 advisors that responded to this, number one thing was marketing, client acquisition. The number two thing was admin workload, right? Over 100 people saying like, this is the number one thing that is helping me or holding me back from reaching my potential as a business. And so exactly like Molly said, we think that this is actually a two-pronged approach. Like there's massive things that we can do and continue to just engineer down admin workload from a technology perspective. But how do we pair that with an extra pair of hands through a network like Lucia, right? It's really exciting. And the opportunity was there. People aren't using it. And if you really dig into this data, it's like, I don't necessarily know how do I find these assistants, right? So there's kind of all this like information that we dug into. And the summary of all of it was that it doesn't matter if you're brand new to the industry or if you're doing multiple millions of dollars in sales, there are things that are holding your business back. And the recipe for success that we believe is necessary to enable you to focus on those, to maximizing your potential is to like engineer from a product and design and engineering perspective down the invisible work that we talk a lot about on this podcast, because we really care about that. But it's also using experts to sort of like work down the admin burden and some of these other things or the knowledge gaps. And so I'm just so thrilled that we are able to, in a way that no other platform can do, start to actually combine these two things in a special way. So Grace, any reactions to that? Otherwise, like, maybe kind of share with the people like what your new role is at Tern and kind of what you were doing. Anything you want to talk about?
Did I like totally just reveal head of marketing without?
No, don't worry. No, we shared it live on Wednesday. So good. Don't worry about it. But I mean, everything you guys said is just so true. But like the one thing I'll add too is like the beauty of this and like why it's so exciting for us to be working together too is like all of the freelancers that are helping advisors. And I'll use the word co-pilots all the time because that's what we call our freelancers. Little bit of an homage to my JetBlue intern days. It was all of our freelancers when they're working with an advisor, it's on a as you need basis. Like you're not paying for some full-time hire that you maybe can't afford for all the months of the year, or someone that like maybe you just need help with a project. Maybe you do need someone full-time. Either way, like the way you want to work with someone is up to you. And I think that's a really important, like exciting distinction, because sure, we could talk about services and like, that's great. But if you want to hire someone or bring someone into your business the right way, and in a responsible way, I should say, you need to make sure that you're bringing them on for what you need and like not just firing them when you don't need them anymore. And so that was something really exciting too. So yeah, but other than that, obviously I'm going to be stepping into the role of head of marketing, which is super exciting, head of marketing and services, because I'll still be overseeing Lucia, of course, and our team, Thea is joining a part of Tern as well to help continue running Lucia. But yeah, going to be running this marketing engine, getting it spun up. I mean, you guys have done an amazing job so far with the fact that you didn't have someone running marketing before. So just really excited to like continue on the momentum. And so far, we've got a few things that we've, gotten to spin up so far. So like we've had some amazing press coverage, which is so kind. We launched our Instagram account, which for everyone that's like in the Tern Facebook group that's so alive and active, we've got like this now other version of information sharing that we've got. But it's a little bit more smaller format, a little bit more, flirty's the wrong word, but a little bit more like just a little bit of a, I don't know, Instagram vibe versus Facebook. Like, it's a little bit more of like a playful approach on some of the content that we're sharing because we can only do it in such a short format. So follow us on Tern Software is like, I think the Instagram handle at Tern Software. And we're going to be sharing also some new content there too, like a lot of resources for you guys, real-time updates that maybe we can't just dump all the time in the Facebook group, things like that. So
maybe
that's
it'll
really
look
fun.
a little flirty. Like
It's flirty. Maybe I'm
Wait.
I did not put flirty in the brand guideline book that I wrote up.
You did take a little bit of a leap there by calling it flirty, didn't
I need to make some edits.
I think
I did get an email from
was
I
the
got
word.
an email from somebody like, I'm flirting with Tern, and we're like, well, let's take it to the next step, join our Instagram page, I guess.
Let's go on a date. Yeah, no, that's great. Well, we'll be leaning in a lot there and sharing additional content. We don't want to just like repurpose everything that's already in the Facebook group or on the podcast. I also personally have a podcast that we're bringing into this ecosystem now as well. It's called Office Hours. Maybe we could share it in the show notes or something somehow, but it's Office Hours. And if you look under my name, Grace Van Hollebeke, you'll find the Office Hours link there. And we cover more of like the business, marketing, business development side of the industry. It's very specific to the travel industry as well, but it's going to take a bit more of like a businessy approach, whereas this is definitely more product driven. So if you guys are looking for a little bit of inspiration or like business, advice from some experts, that'll be some good stuff there. And then, of course, I'm just going to be excited to like tell everyone about Users Conference until we get on that cruise to Bermuda. So I'm super excited about that. And, I think when you guys told me about the cruise and kind of what you guys are planning on doing there and just providing just a ton of information and education and also networking to some of the advisors that are curious to like really dig into their business and learn more and like really grow. That was just super exciting. So now I get to tell people about that we dropped the price, that we have a payment plan, all those fun things. So if you guys are curious, don't worry, I'll be seeing more. But yeah, just a lot of fun and exciting things. Like I have a fun environment to just go play in now, which is just the best.
So cool. We are so excited that you're here, right? And it's like, I mean, just even like thinking about like, how do we tell the story of Tern, and really get the word out. It's been so fun. I mean, the Instagram, I like literally was messaging the team and I was like, I'm learning things that are happening at this company that I didn't know about from the Instagram. I'm like, we're not that big, but I'm loving it. So definitely another plug, like check that out, subscribe.
I gotta ask,
great.
what have you learned from this?
Yeah, what have you learned? I'm slightly concerned.
There was like events that we were attending. I was like, oh, like I didn't realize that. And then, and it's like, cause there's a lot of these small events. I was like, oh, like, I didn't realize that. And then I don't remember. There was another thing. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I think it was Katie's speaking thing that she was doing probably. Katie spoke at an awesome event this week for ASTA, and it was just really cool.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was like, I didn't know we were speaking at an ASTA event. So there you go. If I learn things, you'll learn things. Great place to check us out. Grace, thank you for joining. We will definitely be subscribing to the Office Hours podcast. I'm sure you'll be making another appearance on Flight Path, and we'll be all over. We are so grateful to have you on the team. We're so excited about the future of Tern and Lucia and how we're going to be able to show up for every single one of the listeners in a really special way. So we'll let you drop off now as we get back to our regularly scheduled programming. But before you leave, I remembered the joke I needed to make, but also being pretty serious, which is if you, the listeners, have feedback on or ideas on what we could be doing, how we could solve problems for you in a unique way, given this kind of like unique tools, it's just grace@tern.travel. That's right. That's the email. So just go ahead and ping her. We got her set up on Superhuman, so she's ready for the influx of emails. And if you have questions on Users Conference, we've got people for that too. But check us on socials.
Travel.
Travel. And there's something else we were going to point your way, but we'll leave it with those two for now. So,
I think the last thing that I was supposed to share was that if you want the behind the scenes story of the acquisition, we did just release an episode on that on Office Hours. So like that also, we'll share the link to that.
There you go. All right.
My job is
bye, Grace. Thank you.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time. All right. That was so fun. Wow. So cool to be able to like share this news, eh? Like pretty exciting. All right. The good news is that we are going to move on to the next exciting topic, which I definitely did not close our agenda when I decided to pull up the survey results last minute.
Wow. You hit it very well.
Did you like that? I'm just like, so the next topic is folders. Molly, let's talk about folders.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a theme on the podcast for at least the next few weeks. So the big news this week is that we launched Subfolders, which is something that we were talking about for a little while. When we first released folders, it was like the biggest request we got by far. People really want the ability to organize their folders, not just with a single set of folders, but folders within folders within folders within folders is kind of the inside joke of the company. And we just keep saying that. But it's really been amazing. Like people have already created hundreds of subfolders. They're organizing them with like emojis, which is so cool to see. And it's really helpful. Like if you have a system for like, you have your top level folders for destinations. And then within that, you have like transportation type of activities, and you can kind of organize it really however you want. So that's been really exciting. It was found, of course, by Scott, like a few hours after we launched it. He totally spilled the beans in the best possible way, and it got a lot of hype on Facebook. So it's really fun to see. And then were you going to say something?
I saw I think Scott posted that, and then somebody was like, wait, I haven't seen like any of the documentation or updates about this. And it was like, we haven't had time. Like we haven't.
Yeah. I hadn't even done my product update yet. Yeah. And then emails is coming along. I wanted to provide one update. I think we've talked about like some of the folders progress a few times on this podcast. I think as the team has dug into folders more, if you're familiar with Tern, we have lots of different library item types. And when Tern was first getting built and all of these, initial library item types were being built, we were moving very quickly, and we didn't really take the time, even though they were quite similar in behavior, to make sure that the code and the user experience and the designs were like consistent between the different types. So when we think about actually adding folders to forms, to email templates, to workflows, to automation templates, it's actually like distinct engineering work for each one. And what was kind of cool is when the team started digging into email templates, they realized there's all of these opportunities actually to improve the consistency of the code and the experience, to actually make it way easier to add folders to forms and workflows and automation templates. And so we're going a little bit slow to go fast here, where it's actually taking a little bit longer than we expected to get email templates out for folders, but you should then see the pace really pick up. And the cool thing too is that we're not done with the library, right? Like we've seen how much advisors love the library. So future investments should be a ton easier as well. So it's one of those opportunities that I think is like easy to just be like, no, we can't do this. We have to keep moving really fast. When really the right decision is to actually go a little bit slower, give engineering time to make sure they're digging in and improving things. And that's actually, I think, one of the sneaky reasons why we can maintain our pace actually as we continue to scale is we've actually done that with a number of different areas as we've been layering on new features. And we'll continue to do so and invest in our code base, not just our feature set.
It's like tech debt, right? It's like kind of like a word you'll like hear a lot of times in the engineering world, where it's like by moving really quickly, you make decisions with imperfect information, right? Like we didn't, it's hard to predict exactly how the library is going to evolve, how big it was going to get, right? So like, and we didn't really, it's not like we built every library item at the same time. Like there was time delays. And so now being like, okay, we've learned a lot. How do we really clean this up is cool. It just means if it's not, I think like it'd be easy, like you said, Molly, to look at the library and be like, well, they built it for activities. Why doesn't it just work everywhere? They're all part of the library, right? It's like, to your point, actually totally different lines of code that are running. And now we're sort of cleaning that up. So really, really cool. And it is, I mean, just the usage of those features is so special. And you can see, like, just given how many hierarchy of folders and emojis, like how desperately people need it that way to organize their library. So you will see folders prominently featured in our marketing. But like, we had another like huge update that we've been working on that like really is going to move the needle for groups as well. So anything on the folder work before we move on to Brad talking about this flexible dates update, which is very
No.
exciting.
Like this is like actually even it came out after my product update. So this is like a true first look.
Ooh.
If anyone has any sleuths in Facebook have found this yet, it's pretty prominent. So I'm assuming someone's noticed it. But yeah, just to kind of explain what it is we're talking about. Now for lodging items in Tern, you can decide whether you want to set a fixed set of dates for your clients who are going on that trip, or if you want to provide them the ability to select their own dates. And this is super applicable for things like destination weddings or other group trips where you have a room block or you're planning on having a set of rooms where actually there's maybe a core set of dates people need to be there, but they could really decide when they want to show up maybe a few days earlier or if they want to stay a little bit longer. And previously, it's quite tedious for you to like ask them each, like, what day do you want to come and leave? And then you'd have to go into each sub trip and manually change those dates for them and then update the price based on the dates they actually chose. And kind of like just wild how much effort it took before. Whereas now you can set it up so that basically the same way you can provide room options today to your clients, either on a regular trip or a group trip, you can also provide them date options. You can set earliest check-in date, a latest checkout date, and a minimum number of nights they need to stay. And then when they go either sign up for the group or if this is on a regular trip, just on the itinerary, click a little button to select rooms and dates. And there they can decide when they want to check in, when they want to leave. And if you have that pricing set up per night, it'll automatically update the price to their actual cost for their number of nights they're staying. They can authorize it right there, and then you're all ready to go, cutting out a lot of back and forth that we used to have before, or some weird workarounds where you have like 20 different room options because you're like 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, and that you just don't have to do anymore. So really excited about that.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And I think like seeing it actually in the group sign up flow in particular, it really does feel like we're becoming this like full on booking platform. Like it's like pretty grown
Can I
up.
throw something out there? Like we haven't actually talked about this yet, but I'm very curious if there's some advisors who sell kind of like the same resorts over and over again, where they could just create like a group trip landing page, option block for like which resorts they sell, and just have variable dates for like the entire winter season, and just be like, hey, you want to like go to an all inclusive? Hey, go pick your dates. And it's like the coolest sign up form to be like, hey, advisor, I want to work with you. Here's my stuff. Here's my dates. Here's my resort. Like, and your itinerary built. We haven't talked about it at all, but I woke up this morning thinking about that. So curious to see if anyone uses it that way.
I'm like in a impromptu screen share mode here. So because I have this built out, because this is literally what we talked about at the romance forum in Cancun last week, I like just have to visualize this because not exactly what Brad was talking about, but just this feature, because it is, I had the same feeling. It was like almost this emotional reaction going through this, where it's like, this just makes it feel grown up from like a booking perspective. It was really cool. So I've got, this is like a group trip, and just to show everybody kind of what Brad was talking about here, I've opened up a group trip in Tern. I'm clicking on the itinerary tab on the left side, and I have a resort, stay at the Ava Resort Cancun here, which is a lodging item on the board. So it's a lodging item, just like you would add any kind of hotel, specific to a group trip. So if I click in on this now, you'll notice a new drop down right underneath the property section where it says schedule type. There's even a little info thing there that you can hover over and get some details. And if you, by default, that'll be, I think, fixed is what we said. Yeah, fixed. But you can change that to flexible. And now the check-in, check-out date changes from a hard-coded check-in, check-out date to an earliest check-in date, latest checkout date, and then a minimum number of nights. So if you're managing a room block or a cruise cabin block, like you can literally start to really like, cruises are actually probably fixed dates,
not cruises at all.
Not cruises at all. Like if you're lodging a hotel room block.
If you want to be airdropped in the middle of the ocean.
Not cruises at all. Unless, I mean, Yeah, no, not cruises at all. Anyway, but I
Cover.
was trying to think out some ways. I was like, no, it's not cruises, but you can use groups for cruises really well, but this feature won't really matter. But if you think about this example where you're like doing a wedding, you're trying to figure out those guests, like classic example. And then what happens if I just preview this, you of course have like the kind of details. We can go through the booking flow. And then as you get to the
Oh,
select dates and
David
rooms,
did the
you
thing where
have this option.
it opened in the other tab.
It did the thing. It sure did. Okay, stand by. That's all good. We can just reshare. And there we are. So when I the way I got here is like I clicked on the landing page, go through the booking flow, and when you get to the select rooms, instead of it just being select rooms, it's now select dates and rooms. And this is so cool, and how it combines with occupancy rates, and that it's like, okay, like when do you want to check in and check out? It's like limiting that to the earliest and latest check-in dates. You can say how many rooms, and even start to pick the rooms with the occupancy rates built in as well. So this was sort of the moment as I was going through this for the actual demo where I was like, this has leveled up the way that Tern can start to support group trips. Just want to give a very quick visual here. Again, like the kind of core takeaways is that you can set this up on the lodging, and it's going to allow you to really manage room blocks in a way that that you couldn't really do before. So very excited for that.
And like, can I just say one more thing, which is like, it's leveled it up so much. It's so much more like a full-on, almost like booking engine and handling all those cases you might want. But when the traveler goes through it, they literally land on like a beautiful, fully built out itinerary with the dates that they have chosen reflected, with the pricing and like, I just one of those moments, like taking a step back, where I'm like, all the pieces feel like they're kind of like falling into place. We still have so much more to do, but like the approach to making sure everything feels integrated and builds out the trip automatically. It just, when we add these pieces on, it's just like this feeling of like, it just feels really special. And I didn't even work on this feature, so it's like kind of extra fun for me. Jade, like my amazing counterpart on the product team, and Brad were like the masterminds behind it too. So kind of like a proud manager moment too. Yeah.
So cool. Anything else we want to talk about there before we get to the quality of life updates?
Nope.
No.
Don't go to that. That seems good.
That was a one and done. You can tell we're all maybe a little loopy today, but we're gonna just pass on by that and get into that. Molly, kick us off with the first quality of life update.
I would like you to sing it again, but I'll keep moving. So, first quality of life, I think like if you're a listener of the podcast, we're on this like quest to like kill clicks. And what I mean is like basically just making Tern more efficient to use, but I like the like killing clicks analogy. That was me with a knife for the clicks. And really like what we're trying to do is we're on these calls every single week with advisors who are just trying to like help us bring to life some of the feedback around Tern feeling like it can be not as efficient as it should to use, or like too hard to feel like you can get started easily. And we get these like amazing insights on those calls about like what it is that kind of leads to that type of feedback, because it can be really hard feedback to like put your finger on. And one of my favorite examples is like having advisors share their screen and talking about how often they save library content directly when they're working on their itinerary. And so when they do this, right, like especially let's imagine this is like an agency admin with a team too who needs access to this content. They basically have to like create an activity, make all the changes they want to the activity, save it as an activity template to their library. Then they actually have to go into their library, find the thing that they just saved, name it to the right name that they need. They then need to actually like share it with their team or put it in the right folder manually. And I think Chloe called this out on Facebook. She was like, yeah, it took me like 10 clicks before. So with this first change, we basically made it like 3 clicks. So now when you actually save an activity template to your library from the itinerary, which people do all the time, you can rename it right there to whatever you need it to be. You can put it in the right folder right from that modal. And if it's a shared folder with your team, it's instantly shared with your team as well. So it's just like on our quest to kill the clicks, we have killed so many clicks with this feature, which I love. And I'm like sneaky, like this is like one of my favorite updates we make because it's one that would be like an easy one not to do, but I think will just make people's lives so much easier.
I think it's also a really cool one. If I'm remembering correctly, we were like, "Oh, make it so you can put it in a folder." And Ursula, the new designer on the team, was like, "Wait, we're gonna let them put it in a folder, but we don't even let them name it here. Like, can we get them to name it as well?" And we were able to like kind of sneaky add that in, and again, just like try to save more and more time.
And the power of like joining user calls, because Ursula had also like heard that feedback on a call her and I had been on too. And so it's like I love like the pairing, like Jade and Brad on every user call, me and Ursula on every like just like getting that pattern matching is just so powerful too. So I'm so excited.
And again, because it's up, here we go. Just like very quick visual.
Late on time.
Save as template. And then right here, right, you've got the folders. You can make the decisions. It is so good. So just wanted to share that because it's just too special not to. And now we will move on to the next one, which maybe I won't demo, Brad. Don't worry, but we can talk about the confirmation numbers. Over to you.
Yeah, I think you really should demo this because it's really magical. Okay, so another small thing in the theme of saving clicks, actually letting you click maybe now. You now can copy a confirmation number in one click when reconciling commission or looking at your list of bookings in your commission view. Brianne has been one of our incredible advisors who gives us lots of feedback, has been talking to me about this for like 6 months. And I'm like, we'll get there. So happy to be able to tell her that you can finally do this. So you need to you're looking at commission, you're like, why hasn't this thing showed up yet? What's going on with this booking? Now just at the table level, you can click and copy the confirmation number instead of having to go to the booking, find the number, do the whole thing, just like right there. So super great.
Killing clicks. I also love how we got a little insight into just Molly's like a slightly aggressive side every once in a while. All right, Molly, back to you. Invoice updates.
So like the last one, we got this really cool email a few weeks ago, and it was from one of our incredible agency owners, and she was like, I figured it out with the new like additional details like memo that you can add to your invoices. She's like, we can be TICO compliant now. She like kind of did research and figured out the right things to put in there and how to add like tax information, and she had this whole system. And she was like, but if like you could just have a field for my address to show up at the top of the invoice so it's not showing up at the bottom of the invoice, because addresses are a piece of being TICO compliance with, which is like a Canadian thing. But I mean, addresses showing up in an invoice is a pretty standard thing too. So we were like, we can definitely do this for you. Actually, I think Tyler's gotten a shout out on like every podcast recently, but one of our fantastic new engineers who's like ramping. So he's like looking for kind of smaller wins, even though this is actually like kind of a bigger thing. So built out the ability in your business settings to save a business address, and that shows up at the top of invoices. It will make Canadian agencies very happy, but really just like anyone who wants to add that like extra level of professional polish to your invoices. So excited about that one.
Love it. And it's also just like so helpful to have an address for so many reasons. So glad that we're finally adding that. Last but not least on our quality of life updates, this is a continuous bigger project. Brad, we've made some progress on the editor. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, and just connecting it back to invoices. Now the new editor is available for all the invoice features. So when you're creating an invoice and you're editing the description or like the memo, basically you can add at the bottom, you can use the new editor for that. Same thing for when you're working on, in your settings, when you're setting the template there, that's also the new editor. And this is the first feature with the new editor. We're actually taking content you created in that editor and then putting it into a PDF. So it's like another big step for us, because if you can imagine what we're going to need to do for trips when we add the editor there is make it so you can also download the trip as a PDF. And so we needed this functionality there, but like invoice is a little less used than trips. So we started smaller, and it's a huge stepping stone to get us closer to the new editor on trips.
Yeah, just to get a peek behind the curtain, like the way that we structured the editor roadmap is like there's these building blocks, like translating it to PDFs, like I don't know, Brad talks about it way more eloquently than me, but this is like the last major like building block before we start to just go a little bit more into like crank it out per feature mode. So hopefully our pace should accelerate a little bit, and we're like kind of nearing the end in sight for this, although still a lot of work to do to make sure that we're doing it well and thoroughly testing and all that kind of stuff.
So exciting. And it's like fun every time we roll it out for a new feature. I feel like somebody posts on Facebook like, yeah, I found, like, you still see people finding it for the first time and they're like, this is amazing. And so it's gonna be really special to have it on trips where everybody will see it and use it, because it's definitely a leap forward. All right, we are to the final section of the podcast, which is what the week ahead looks like. It's been a busy week. We've got another one coming up. So Molly, starting with you, what's on your radar for next week?
Yeah, I mean, continuing to kind of test and launch folders pieces that we've talked about. And then kind of the big new area, kind of a privileged problem to have. We've gotten an influx of not only like new advisors using Tern, but also like people getting a lot of their data into Tern, like importing like thousands of past bookings across their entire agency. And so that comes with scaling pains. And so our team has been investing in making the like reporting so you can see your received commission over time, your upcoming commission, your sales data, making that like load a lot faster. That's in progress as we speak. But we have like a set of other kind of scaling and speed related work that you'll see kind of rolling out over the next couple of weeks and months. So things like loading a shared with me view of your trips across your entire agency. If there's thousands of those trips, it can take a little bit long to load. So you'll see some investments there that we're kind of continuously making, but like every once in a while, especially with a big surge, like we end up kind of over rotating and focusing more on some of those scaling concerns. So team is doing some great work there that will be exciting to share updates on.
So cool. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot more updates coming, like you said, on data and infrastructure and all those types of things. But Brad, over to you. What's your week look like next week?
Yeah, I think can we talk about that? We're going to talk about things. I don't know.
I think we can talk about that. In fact, we're going to talk about things. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, I'm sure we can talk about it.
The main focus for Jade and I for the next.
Oh yeah, I think.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we are jumping back into how we actually support basically fund, like collecting funds for trips in Tern, whether that's like let's just assume it's for group trips right now. We know this is a core thing for a lot of advisors and agencies who are operating more like tour operators, packaging things up together and paying suppliers directly. So we're starting to dig back into that, and that's like going to be probably a big mental focus of mine next weekend and beyond.
And that is a behemoth of a project, especially like triangulating between all the complexities, and there's risk, and then there's the kind of structures right on how do you make sure that we're doing right based on agencies and the credential. It's just like there's a lot there, but it is fun to see that now start to accelerate, and should be fun.
And maybe just like there's so much excitement around when we're going to deliver trip funds. So I think like the reason you saw some hesitancy from Brad to even bring it up is like there is so much involved. There will be so much of like who we're able to beta test this with and like what we learned through that process. So don't expect like an update in the next few weeks on it being live, but we're back in it basically.
Yeah. And I would say like even our next big launch webinar, like probably not, right? Like this is going to be, we'll go into way more detail. We don't have time today, but like the reason we care so much about getting this right is if you get it wrong, this can actually be like fatal to companies because of the risk that you can take on, right? Like we want to be here for the next 30 years building incredible software for all of you. Like we don't want some like, weird fintech risks to become existential. And so we're taking this very seriously. We will not rush it. We know how important it is, but we will not rush it. We're going to get it right. So that's our commitment to you. My week next week, wrapping up here in the last couple minutes, back on the road. We're at GTM West. This is our first time attending the GTM conferences. So they're Tuesday through Friday. I think we're going to try and record on Wednesday because I think we're off on Thursday. So next week's going to be a little bit of a kind of wild week in terms of like scheduling and all that. But I've heard really good things about these events. So it's going to be fun to connect with folks there. So if you're going to GTM West, definitely let us know in the comments or shoot me an email. And we would love to see you. Lots of planning, lots of other things going on, but that wraps up this week's episode of Flight Path. It was an action-packed one, maybe one of our longest episodes yet. So thank you for sticking with us to this point. If you have, And we will see you all next week. Click the like button. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Click subscribe, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Thanks all.